Today we'll be going over Dan's journey to becoming an 8-figure Amazon seller. We'll also be going over the blueprint he has now created and has been implementing in other sellers' businesses so that they can do the same that he has done. Right now, if you are an Amazon seller and you're facing undercutting, regating, account being shut down, any issues within the arbitrage or wholesale space, trust me, we understand it. Me and Dan have been through it both. So today we are going to give you guys everything, all the tips and tricks that we've seen within our Amazon business. We're going to give it to you guys today, and you're in the right place to learn more about wholesale. Now, if you don't know who Dan or 1000 ASINs is, let me introduce him. Dan has been selling for the last 6 years on Amazon. He's going to clear over 20 million in sales this year with a very, very healthy profit margin. Dan has secured over 100 wholesale accounts and has built long-lasting relationships with his suppliers. He is now working with countless other Amazon sellers to help scale and protect their Amazon business. Dan has secured over 100 wholesale accounts with his suppliers and built long-lasting relationships with them as well. And now he is working with countless other Amazon sellers to help grow, scale, and protect their Amazon business. Dan, always a pleasure. If you would like to go ahead and give yourself an introduction for those that do not already know.
Hello everyone, my name is Dan. I've been selling on Amazon for about 6 years now, and coincidentally, I stumbled upon the opportunity to sell on Amazon through a YouTube video. Things have come full circle, and since then, my sales have basically doubled every single year that I started. I started the first year or two doing retail and online arbitrage, which was a great way to start, but not necessarily a great way to create a growing, sustainable, profitable business. Over the past 4 years, my sales and income have doubled year over year with no sign of slowing down. Now that I have the skills and expertise, receipts to back up all this stuff, I want to share this knowledge with the community and help take you from maybe an arbitrage business, or maybe you haven't even started selling on Amazon, and take you to the next level. And when I first met Jack, he was doing well with arbitrage, getting quick cash, but realized that if he wanted to be in this long term, he needed a real business with real business relationships. Problem was, he was A, a little bit skeptical that he'd be able to achieve these types of relationships, and B, a little bit intimidated and a little lost on where to start, how to make these brand contacts and win these accounts. I helped Jack kind of casually implement some of my systems. I basically guaranteed him within a few weeks, once he had his business set up properly the way I showed him and reached out to brands the correct way and dealt with objections the correct way, that he would land wholesale accounts within just a few weeks. Lo and behold, Jack has done that. Once he saw the light with a few of his first accounts, he took that knowledge and ran and continued to open up lots and lots of wholesale accounts to enable him to do 7 figures of sales year 1 and growing year 2 and beyond. And that's the same guarantee that we offer anyone that joins our program, that within just a few weeks, 14 days to be exact, from your first contact, if you don't land an account, then we'll refund you everything.
Today, Dan has been nice enough to let me question him on his wholesale business to give you guys more information on what wholesale actually looks like and how Dan has grown his business so fast and at such an extreme rate to where he is today. Why did you make the jump from arbitrage to wholesale?
Yeah, so the primary reason I switched from arbitrage to wholesale had to do with account health issues. So year 2 of my journey, I was finally getting some momentum. I had reached $1 million of sales, about 150,000 of profit. I was elated. Then there's a big problem that occurred, which was I received 3 different IP complaints from brands alleging that I was selling counterfeit product. And of course, I wasn't selling counterfeit product. It was purchased from legitimate retailers. But in Amazon's eyes, you're not always guaranteed to win those types of complaints. What ended up happening was my account was suspended. I didn't realize how important these account health issues were to combat, proactively, and I kind of just let those IP complaints just sit. And before you know it, my account was down, all my inventory was reserved, all my funds were locked up, and it was just a miserable feeling. Some people watching today might even be able to relate to that firsthand. For your business to just come to a screeching halt, you don't know if you're going to make money next month or how you're even going to pay bills and stuff. I had huge credit card bills for all the inventory. It was just an awful, awful feeling.
Yeah.
I spent 3 months talking to 4 different consultants on appealing my account. I contacted all these brands, finally got the complaints removed. It was a 3 or 4 month process, and I was honestly this close to giving up because I kept emailing Amazon and wait an entire week or 2 for them to review my appeal, and then they'd say, not enough information to activate your account. And it was just so frustrating.
Yeah,
and
it's brutal.
Yeah,
that's a huge thing today. I have friends from the arbitrage space that I started with that have hundreds of thousands of dollars tied up in inventory that's regated, and they have hundreds of thousands of dollars of credit card bills that they need to pay, and they have no way to pay them right now because all their
Yeah,
inventory
it's super relevant for today as well.
Yeah.
I mean, just this quarter, Q4 2024, as we're
Brutal.
talking, there's been some massive brands that hundreds of arbitrage sellers have done well with, but now the tables have completely turned.
Yeah.
And my heart goes out to all of those sellers genuinely, because I've been there before.
That kind of leads me into my next question of why you think wholesale is better than arbitrage. Obviously, there's a better, safety regard based off everything we just talked about.
Yeah, for sure.
But what other points on top of the safety and on top of everything we just hit on makes wholesale better than arbitrage?
Just to conclude, like the end of my story, which was really like my transition into wholesale, I finally got my account back. I was on a vacation. I went for this long hike, and then when I got to the bottom of the mountain, I got an email from Amazon and just said, your account has been reinstated. Please,
Sure.
I pretty much broke down in tears. I couldn't believe it, and even throughout that horrible time, I saw so clearly the potential of Amazon and how big of an opportunity it was. Basically, when I got my account back, I vowed to never, ever put myself in that situation again, and to just stop sourcing from retailers and just, run a really professional business where any invoices that I submit to Amazon will hold up, any appeals with brands will hold up, and just never put myself in that position again. That's like probably the number one benefit of wholesale, which is you're a lot safer in terms of account health. There are a lot less surprises, and at the end of the day, you're selling products that brands are okay with you selling. I sleep at night great knowing that, I'm not trying to get away with something. I'm not trying to sell products that brands ultimately don't want me selling. And I don't have any moral qualms with that. Like, power to all the people doing great with arbitrage. I was one of those people. But if I want to be in this thing long term and create a real scalable business, making millions of dollars of profit, it's really hard to do with arbitrage. The bigger you get and the more arbitrage SKUs you carry, you're just inviting more and more problems, and it's very tough to manage. So that actually kind of leads me into the second reason I went into wholesale, is the scalability. It's much easier to procure huge amounts of product, and the brand condones it and will give you an authorization letter. If you try to order, let's say 1,000 of something from a retailer, most retailers have quantity limits. You've probably seen on sites, you can buy a maximum of 2 or 5 or 10. And if you want to source 1,000 of something, then you need to do order after order after order, and you have 100 emails with 100 order confirmations with 100 different tracking numbers. Some of them will get lost. Reconciliation is a nightmare. If you ever have to show proof of purchase for 1,000 units to Amazon, you need to compile a 500-page PDF of stuff. It's
not easy.
It's just really tough. There's slippage all along the way. Like, products go missing, tracking numbers say they're delivered, but they're not really delivered. It's just a lot to manage. And try doing that across 100 or 1,000 different SKUs, high-moving SKUs. It becomes nearly impossible. So wholesale, you want 1,000 of something, you say, hey, supplier, can I have 1,000 of this?
Yeah.
Sure, no problem. They stick it all on a pallet. That pallet comes, it's all neatly case packed, very easy to deal with and reconcile. So the scalability of wholesale is enormous.
Yeah, that's like the two things I saw really. One is the longevity of it, switching from arbitrage into wholesale. Right off the bat, you can see right away because you're working directly, like you said, with brands, and those relationships aren't just going to go away in a day. It's something that'll be here for years to come. And so a big shift I saw is with arbitrage. If I have this loop or some system that's working really great with one retailer and one site, I could get shut down tomorrow, and there goes a solid chunk of my business if that's something I'm pushing forward heavily, right? So an example of that was I used to order very heavily directly from Converse.com, like 30% of my inventory. It was just this loop. I was having additional discounts, and I just pushed it for months. I made a lot of money on it, but one day my orders just stopped going through, and I couldn't get anything in place. And then I had to scramble to try to make up this revenue, and it's tough. So that was a big thing I saw. Longevity was one, and then two is, and I like to say this to clients, is that wholesale is stackable, arbitrage is scalable. Both have the scalability there. Arbitrage it can take you from 0 to 1 very well, but you're in a constant lead chase month over month, whereas wholesale, when you get, say, $50,000 in replenishable inventory from one supplier, that will stick there 90% of the time, and you'll be able to place that month over month over month, and then you go out, get your next brand, get another 50,000, then that stacks on top, right?
Exactly.
So it's this idea of stacking and scaling instead of just scaling forward.
For sure. Wholesale is kind of like adding another brick
Yeah,
to the
exactly.
wall, or like another layer to the foundation. It's when you're able to reliably replenish these products, it might not be as sexy or profitable on a SKU by SKU basis, but you're laying a foundation, and then it just accumulates more and more and more. It's really powerful as it starts to add up.
Yeah.
And in touching on what you said before about like you could be shut down, you're chasing your next product. I equate arbitrage to a hustle.
I agree.
Arbitrage is a job where you're chasing your next deal. You're only as good as your next deal. And if you're only as good as your next buy, then that's just a job. That's not a business. That's, you're chasing your next buy to see how you can make money
It's a
that
constant
month.
lead chase. It literally month over month. It starts at zero every single month, and you have to go and you have to chase leads. Otherwise, you do not have a business.
Yeah, exactly. So if your business is 1 month away from shutting down, if you don't, let's say it's a very cold couple of months and there's not much opportunity, and your business profitability collapses, that's not a business. That's a chase. That's a hustle. That was another reason I wanted to get away from arbitrage. And the other thing is, arbitrage, you're making money in the buy cost, so it's like trying to stack cash back and discounted gift cards and coupon codes and all that stuff. Like, you're essentially a glorified extreme couponer, and it's fun. It's a fun hustle. Maybe that's all you want it to be if you're watching this, and that's totally fine. Power to you. But if you're interested in creating a business for the long term that can grow year over year over year, wholesale is the opportunity over arbitrage.
100%. And that kind of leads me into my next question about foundation. So we're talking about, and I like the imagery you put out with wholesale, you're stacking brick over brick over brick, and arbitrage, you're almost building that wall up every single month and there's no stacking. So how did you go about building your foundation for your wholesale business?
So it all starts with suppliers. So over time you secure these accounts with suppliers. Those suppliers have products that when you identify, you can resell them profitably. Typically that supplier will have them year in, year out. Basically, it's identifying SKUs that you can resell profitably and consistently. So you make an initial order for those SKUs, provided they all work out as anticipated, which usually they do. Then every month you just go back to that same supplier, order it again, and then within that same supplier you can either identify more SKUs to add the bricks, or if you've kind of tapped them out and order everything you're able to that's profitable for Amazon, then you'll open another supplier account and just it's just identifying those SKUs and just adding them over time. So.
And on the topic of suppliers, I know you go heavily directly to the brand. You do some distribution, but you prefer to go directly to the brand and just buy products straight from whatever the brand may be. So why do you choose to go that route? Why don't you just go to the big distributors and just buy heavy in bulk of the bigger name brands over and over again? Why do you go to some of the mid-tier size brands and just go directly to them?
A few reasons. So reason one actually goes back to account health. Purchasing from distributors doesn't necessarily protect you from brands filing IP complaints. So just because you're buying wholesale doesn't mean you're invincible. A lot of distributors will offer products from brands that really still don't want you selling on Amazon. So it's kind of no different than arbitrage in that regard, except you're able to buy wholesale quantity instead of retail quantity. So you're not quite protected there. It's safer, but not totally safe. Whereas if you buy from a brand directly, that brand will typically offer a letter of authorization. So in Amazon's eyes, there's no shadow of a doubt that your store is authorized to sell that product and or any products under their brand name. So being able to have that letter of authorization is huge, and invoices directly from the brand. It's just the most safe way to sell on Amazon. Another reason to go brand direct is the margins are often higher. So distributors, a middleman, of course. So distributor will get one price from the supplier, and then they're marking it up, 10, 20, 50, 100% to you. So if you go brand direct, you can often cut out that distributor and get better prices, which means better profit margins. And then I'm just going to say one more thing about brand direct benefits, which would be brand direct purchasing can lead to actually exclusive relationships. So you're actually forming a relationship with this brand, and if you do a good job, you may be able to secure a written contract to be the only Amazon seller that can sell that product, which can be a huge, huge opportunity. And then that way you're completely controlling the price, the listing, everything, and you have ultimate control.
Definitely. And that's something I saw. So I tried to get into wholesale maybe a year before you started teaching me. And I feel like a big misconception is that wholesale equals distribution. A lot of arbitrage sellers that I'm close with in that, in the general space think, oh, if I'm doing wholesale, I have to go to distributors directly. And I went down that loop. I went down the loop of, making a fake brick and mortar site and saying I was some beauty supplier and going out to beauty distributors and just Googling, beauty distributors near me. There's so many misconceptions within that.
Totally.
That was like probably the biggest mental shift when I started working too. It's like, okay, I can actually go to brands directly and buy from them. I don't have to go to these distributors and fake myself, which is a huge misconception I see. I know there are some other misconceptions about wholesale. And so I have some listed out here and I want you to hit on them.
Yeah.
Is MOQs. When going to brands, I feel like a common misconception is that MOQs are going to be extremely high and you can't purchase from brands directly. So if you want to tackle that, then we'll jump to the next one.
Yeah, for sure. So something to realize is brands come in all shapes and sizes. So, obviously if you're trying to get Apple Direct or Samsung Direct, there's going to be an MOQ of, I don't know, maybe $50 million in order.
Yep.
Obviously brands like that are out of reach for most people. Yep. But if you tackle the small and medium-sized brands, often they'll have much lower MOQs. So a small mom and pop brand, maybe only 5 or 6 people work there. They just make a very small product line, maybe 5 products, and they don't make that much of them. That type of brand would be thrilled to have a $1,000 order, a $2,000 order. If you're going brand direct, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to drop $1 million to get a purchase order. One thing we teach is kind of like matching up the size of your business and your capital and abilities with the types of brands that you target. There's a brand for every size seller out there.
My first brand I secured, I think my first purchase was $1,000. That was it. Because like you said, brands do come in all shapes and sizes. So that's a big point to hit. The other one I want to hit on is that when you go brand direct, they don't want to work with Amazon sellers and that you have to pose yourself as some brick and mortar.
I always say that we sell on Amazon. I don't position myself as an Amazon seller. I position myself as an online retail company. We sell on Amazon, but also other channels as well. A lot of brands are frustrated with Amazon. A lot of them say no more Amazon sellers because they're frustrated in some way, shape, or form. And then, I try to position myself to try and help them on Amazon, help them with their problems. A lot of the conversations I try to start like, okay, there no more Amazon sellers. Why is that? What's going wrong with your Amazon presence? And maybe there's a way to help you with that. Most brands do want to be on Amazon, but they usually don't have a clue how to manage it, or they've seen that, when they do sell to a lot of Amazon sellers, they might bring the price lower than brick and mortar stores, and then they're getting calls from their brick and mortars, oh, your price is so much lower on Amazon. And then brands just get overwhelmed and they get frustrated. It's not that they don't want Amazon as a sales channel, and some do. A minority probably does want it off Amazon altogether, but most brands in today's day and age, they realize how huge of a sales channel Amazon is. So really what they want is a good strategy and the right partners. It's not that they don't want Amazon sales. They want the right sellers to help them manage Amazon and grow sales on Amazon rather than just, flip products.
Yeah. And a big thing that resonated well with me was remember the pie analogy you gave me?
Yeah.
When you're working a brand, they have a set pie of revenue and everyone gets to share. Do you want to run them through what that pie analogy is?
Yeah, 100%. So a lot of people come to me in their early stages and even late stages are like, I can't believe this brand is denying me. I'm trying to give them money. Why the heck would they not sell product to me? I'm trying to offer them $10,000 or $100,000. And I thought that way at first as well. But here's the reason why they still don't want your money. If you picture the sales on Amazon for a brand as like a pie chart or a pizza or something, and let's say there's 10 sellers on the brand authorized to sell. So picture that pie just sliced up 10 ways by 10 sellers. And then you, as seller number 11, come to the brand and say, I want to sell your product on Amazon. Great. But the brand realizes that if they just add another reseller, all that's happening is their existing sales pie stays the same, but now it's just sliced up 11 ways instead of 10 ways. Not only does this not help them, this is actually worse for them because now all of a sudden they have to manage 11 wholesale customers, which means 11 purchase orders they have to process instead of 10 purchase orders. So now they're doing more shipments, more administrative work, more relationship management, and then the existing wholesale sellers, they might see that it's getting diluted further and further, and then they'll express frustration. So chopping up the same pie doesn't help the brand. They already know they're going to get money to resell on Amazon. It's just whether they get it from one person or 5 people or 10 or 20 or 30 or whatever. So you're actually disadvantaging them by offering them money, which is interesting. So the focus is for brands is like, why should I take you on as a seller? What are you going to do to help me increase the size of the sales pie instead of just take a piece from it? That's a mindset shift that a lot of people have to make, but once they understand it, like, your success rate with closing these brands and establishing these relationships skyrockets when you have that mindset.
Yeah, definitely. So then, the biggest part, obviously, of this all, and this is something I struggled with, is how do I actually find brands to reach out to, right? So that's what I want to ask you. How, and what are your tips for the people watching? Should they go out after this video and go and actually start finding brands that they can reach out to?
Yeah, they certainly can. Yeah, there are a few main methods that I employ to find brands, and finding brands is quite easy. Everyone should be able to have the skills to, compile lists of hundreds, if not thousands, of brands that are viable to contact and get an account. So I use some software to filter brands. There's softwares out there that can filter brands on Amazon for certain revenue ranges, so finding brands that aren't too big, finding brands that Amazon is not retailing on, finding brands with multiple wholesale sellers already, so the brand doesn't have exclusive agreements already, and in certain categories and certain product sizes, you can really filter down exactly what you want to sell. And so that's method one, utilizing software to just narrow down the list. I know this sounds crazy, but use google.com to just Google brands and distributors near me in a certain category. Believe it or not, you can actually form relationships with local brands, local distributors in your area fairly easily if you make the contacts. Another method is actually from other sellers. So there's a lot of competitive sellers with me that we're on a lot of the same Amazon listings. So I know brands that they sell. A, they're obtainable for similar size sellers to myself, and B, they're presumably profitable as well. So using other sellers, seeing what they're selling is kind of a fast track to contacting brands that you're likely to secure yourself. Trade shows is another great way. There's industry-specific trade shows in every category. So there's like gourmet food trade shows, automotive trade shows, you name it. At those trade shows, you're going to find hundreds and hundreds of brands that may or may not be on Amazon, may or may not know about Amazon. So trade shows can be a gold mine, especially if you pick like one category to specialize in, which is a strategy some wholesale sellers employ.
Yeah, and that was a big thing, right? And for me, I thought I was going to have a very hard time finding brands, and then first day, I have a list of 200 brands for me to do. So it's a lot easier than you think.
Right.
But great, so now you have your list of brands. What's next? How do you actually go out and secure a brand to get a catalog or get an account open?
So you have a list of brands, and we show you how to organize all those and basically create a basic CRM system where it's like red light, yellow light, green light. You can see the status of all your outreach. But basically, once you have a big list of brands, then your job is to go out and contact them. So you can contact them via email, you can contact them via phone, you can try and find someone on LinkedIn who's a sales manager or president of the company, contact them there. Sometimes there are contact forms on the website. So there's various ways to contact these brands. And then you're basically crafting an initial email or voicemail that will want to engage like a conversation with them. And it's basically just introducing yourself, who you are, what you'd like to do, with the goal of securing an open account. Yeah. So an open account would be like a price list and onboarding documents, that type of stuff. And then that's where the real fun begins, where you go through the products and see what's good for Amazon.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into my next point. So now we have the brands we found, we've secured. What's next? How do you actually scale this up and actually make money, right?
Yeah, for sure. So once you have access to the products to sell, then it's your job to analyze those products. So there's another variety of tools that we use to analyze profitability and sales velocity on Amazon. Once we've identified those products, then it's time to submit a purchase order. So you're telling your supplier, we want 3 cases of that, 5 cases of that, 10 cases of that. It comes, you sell it, and provided that it goes well and the velocity is as predicted, the profitability is as predicted, then you basically have those SKUs in your lineup for life, essentially, unless something changes, and you can go back and continuing to order that. And then in terms of scaling, as you get more and more and more of these products, obviously it becomes tougher to manage. I use strategies like employing virtual employees to handle a lot of the day-to-day data entry tasks, administrative tasks, stuff like that. It could be hiring employees to label and ship all your products, or utilizing a 3PL or prep center to do that for you. And then when you really, really scale, then you're going to need people like buying full-time, doing account outreach full-time, managing other sales channels, account health tasks, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, we've got the blueprint, and I've learned a lot from you actually in terms of virtual employees. You're exceptionally good at creating processes and managing virtual teams. So that's been helpful to me as well.
I appreciate it. Yeah. But yeah, the blueprint is definitely there, and Dan handed me each one of these steps. Obviously, there's more detail and more nuances to each single one, but the overall blueprint is there, right? We've applied the same blueprint back to clients within our course. And just for an example here, Jay, one of our clients, he joined our course maybe 2 months ago. And within his first month, he secured a brand direct account, but not only a brand direct account, a brand exclusive account for a brand that was just launching on Amazon.
Yeah, so that's insane, actually. Yeah,
getting an exclusive account that early. But he used the exact blueprint that we just outlisted. And so he went through, he secured them, and then he helped the brand create their listings, manage their ad campaigns, manage their A+ content. I mean, he is the only seller of that brand, and now that brand does roughly, I think, 75 to 100,000 a month. And he's getting the prices. He was showing me the other day. He gets them at such a low cost. He's making 150, 200% ROI on every single sale.
That's crazy.
Which is insane. And these products are selling thousands of times per month between all of them. Right. So that's a perfect example. Jay, 2 months in, he has a brand direct account. He's probably making like a 20 to 30% profit margin off of revenue. So he's making
crazy. So
anywhere
$250,000 a year profit off one account.
And just using it's insane.
Yeah, it's so powerful. Like all you need is a few of these accounts, possibly even one to change your life, which is crazy.
An incredible salary off of one account. It's insane.
Yeah, super powerful.
It's something that Jake Thomas talked about on our group call, and it resonated well with me. You only need 3 to 5 brands, maybe less than that, to be a 7-figure seller that is making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, over year, that you can work with. So the blueprint is there. You just need to go out and you just need to apply it.
For sure, yeah. I'll say that this business is not that complicated. It's quite simple actually, and pretty much anyone can do it. I'd say basically it comes down to whether you're willing to put in the reps, contact suppliers, and just keep going. Just keep beating down the wall till it falls over, and eventually it will fall over with persistence. For basically every student that I've ever taught, if they're putting in the reps, it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, and obviously Jay's a hyper successful example, but there's other clients in the group who join, and first week they're getting their account. Jacob, he went through, and he, within his first 7 days of being a client, had an account secured. So obviously there's levels to it. Jay went through and he worked his ass off to get that exclusive account, and he's reaping the rewards now. But even on a more micro sense, Jacob went through, he applied all the blueprint, and he had his first profitable account within 7 days, which is a huge win. Again, one account, maybe it only makes you $1,000 a month, but that's month over month over month, and so there's levels to it.
Exactly.
But the blueprint definitely works there, and Jay, Jacob, and the 50 other clients within the course right now are all testimonials to that. I think at this point, every single client that's gone through has opened up an account within the first 14 days, which is incredible. I mean, Peter, Jay, Jacob, JT, Vika, Othercheck, Rachel, Steven, John, like the list goes on. I could list out every single client, but obviously I'm not going to list 50 clients right now. But every client has gone through and they've opened up their first account, which is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all using this brand direct blueprint.
Yeah, it's great to see. I love seeing that. Like, I get fired up every time.
It's awesome.
A student opens up their first account because it's opened up a whole new world.
And real quick, we're going to run you guys through actually what our clients are receiving from us to get support and be able to do this so efficiently. So this brand direct blueprint that is directly tailored to your business breaks down into 3 main phases. Phase 1 is your back-end business setup within wholesale. Phase 2 is application of the systems. And then phase 3 is scaling. So we're going to break down what you actually receive in each given phase to make sure that you can succeed and scale with the blueprint. So within phase 1, back-end business setup, you have a preloaded set of guides. It's about 6 hours worth of written and video content built by me and Dan. Pretty much everything you need to know A to Z is included within these guides. Every failure, success, lesson that we've learned within wholesale, we condense down into these guides and through it all for you guys. So number 1 is the guides. As for number 2, we will build your website, and Dan will hit on a little bit of what that looks like.
Yeah, so in wholesale, especially with Brand Direct, it's important to have a professional business presence, because just as you're researching them and checking out their website, they're doing the same for you. They're checking out your website, looking for signs of legitimacy for your business. So having a nice looking website, a nice looking logo, email signature, all that stuff is super important. And one add-on we have with our program, which is really just absurd is we will build a professional looking website for you with your direction on aesthetics and logo and that type of stuff.
Completely free. It's pretty,
Yeah,
completely
crazy.
Free. And then on top of that, we'll also give you 30 vetted brands by me and Dan directly that you can reach out to on day one. So just hand it right to you, 30 brands listed out, whatever category.
Yeah, if you want the ultimate lazy man's or lazy woman's play, you don't even have to find the brands. We'll give you vetted quality brands, a whole list to contact right to your doorstep.
It's insanely turnkey, and this is just phase one, right? And then also additional to that, we'll support you in making sure everything legally is set up with your entity, your EIN, your LLC, your sales tax number, everything like that. And then also the professional side past the website, your logo, your signature, your domain, making sure everything is squared away on the back end before we actually start reaching out to brands to make sure you'll have a high success rate. And that leads me into the next phase, phase two, which is application. After everything is squared away on the back end and you're ready to go with the knowledge, professionalism, and legal back end, then we start to work through and we actually start to find brands and reach out to brands. And so phase two, again, is application, and we'll break down here what that actually looks like.
Yeah, so for the ongoing application of actually, the day-to-day operations of the business, you have an incredible amount of support, and really, I mean that. So we have 4 calls a week, hour-long calls with me and Jack. So 2 calls from me, 2 calls from Jack. We're doing deep dives into topics, we're doing guest speakers, we're doing deep dives into different softwares and tools, and also general Q&A, mastermind, troubleshooting calls. It's so much that most of our students don't even get on all the calls because it is a lot of content, and you can kind of utilize it as kind of like a buffet. If there's a topic you already know about, it's not like you have to get on the call, you can get on next week. So you can kind of just utilize it knowing we're there almost every single weekday of the week. And then on top of that, you actually have access to Jack one-on-one for calls, basically whenever you want, which is another kind of just unheard of feature for a program, just an incredible amount of value. And then our community has topic channels on anything you could think of where you can ask any questions, pose any challenges, and get my expert advice at least once a day, and Jack's as well. So the support is ongoing, and it's just incredible what we offer.
Yeah, we try to have the highest point of contact that you can have with us as possible. So as you mentioned, you can book in with me daily if you like. You have group calls with both of us 4 times a week, and then we're also thrown into a group chat with me and Dan directly on Discord, where if you have any small question day to day, you can ask us, and me and Dan will go through on a daily basis and clear out those messages and hit on any questions that you have. So really, to my knowledge, it's the highest point of contact that you can possibly have. I don't think there's any way to extend it further than we already have, just because we know there's so many moving parts to an Amazon business. Questions will arise, skills will need to be progressed, and the best way to do that is by asking us and picking our brain directly. Another huge feature that we offer is distribution, right? So me and Dan went to our suppliers directly, and we're tapping into our suppliers that you guys may not be able to get because either the brand is too big, the MOQs are too high, just brands that are out of your reach as a beginner, right? And we tapped into them directly, and we got permission from them to distribute out their products to people within the course as well. So ECG, Elevate Consulting Group as a whole, also does distribution, ECG distribution. So as a client, you can come through and you can buy pretty much a lot of the products that me and Dan are buying ourselves right off the gate. So it's a nice cherry on top. Obviously, the main point of being a client is to build your own business and make your own, own your own connections and your own systems. But it's nice to be able to go through and spend $10,000 or $20,000 on your first day and see some of that profit back right off the gate. And lastly, phase 3 is scaling. So we've gone through the back-end business setup. We've got you all squared away, ready to reach out to suppliers and secure them. Application, we're going through and we're actually going out and reaching out and securing suppliers, and you're using our direct support and the point of contact that we just referenced to be able to do so and be able to make sure that you can successfully. And the last phase of that is once you have suppliers, once you have an async catalog ready to indulge into and actually purchase on, it's scaling further, right? And making sure your business can go from maybe 6 figures to 7 figures, and then scaling past that to 8 figures. And that's really the last phase of the course, is scaling. Phase 3, like I said, is scaling, and we're going to just do a couple metrics. I'll hit on virtual assistants, and I'll have Dan hit on the rest of the scaling metrics within the course. So a big factor when you're first starting out and at a lower barrier to entry is virtual assistants. So a big thing is leveraging back your time, right? If you look at your whole business, you have different leverages on your time, right? Purchasing, finding inventory, finding suppliers, and you work down the ranks. So virtual assistants, we will go on and we will hire you a virtual assistant completely free through my agency. And basically the main idea is to buy back your time on those lower leverage tasks, to be able to have a virtual assistant come through and manage them for you. So virtual assistants are a big part of leveraging back your time and scaling further to make sure you can spend as much time as possible on the highest leverage tasks. And we will do that again completely free through my virtual assistant hiring agency. And Dan obviously has been in the space for 6 years. We're in his warehouse right now. He has seen a lot of scaling metrics within the business, and so he's going to talk through what that looks like and how we can help you do the same.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll just touch on my selling business now, which is comprised of 20 US-based employees. So I have a lot of warehouse staff and levels of warehouse staff. So I have assistant managers, warehouse associates. I have multiple buyers. I have a multi-channel sales manager, an admin, and then that's not even to talk about my virtual staff, which is another 3 people growing fast to more people. So I'd like to think that I know what it takes to scale a business, not just with a virtual team, but a real US-based team. So I share a lot of my best practices on process creation, managing who does what, keeping track of things. And I've scaled my own business to the point where I really don't need to even be there to manage it. I can say I'm more of a business owner than operator. I love the business. I like working on various things and process improvements, all that stuff, but I actually don't really need to be here day to day, which is an amazing feeling that I've built systems to just have it run without me, which it should be the ultimate goal of really any business owner if they really want to have time freedom. And case in point should be that we're here today with another venture creating this community and program. I wouldn't have time to do this if I was in there trying to manage every little thing myself. Clearly, I've freed up the time for myself to be able to build this community. So that should kind of be a testament to what I've been able to scale and outsource to other people. And yeah, there's a lot of aspects of this business to managing your inventory, managing all the different seller central tasks you have to do, managing who does what all the time, managing cash flow, managing funding and finances. So I have a software stack of 10 plus softwares and also discounted rates to those, by the way. We've negotiated deals with some software providers. We just have it all there for you. I don't know what else to say. It's all there for the taking.
Yeah, so. Again, this Brand Direct Blueprint is broken down into 3 phases. Phase 1 is back-end business setup. Phase 2 is application, and Phase 3 is scaling. So that's kind of the general workflow of this Brand Direct Blueprint, which obviously holds a lot of value. So Dan, I want to ask you, this Brand Direct Blueprint that you've provided to me, that we've provided to every other client in the course, if you had to tag it at a value, what would you say?
I honestly don't even know. If you add it all up, it's some of the value adds we have are honestly priceless. But if I had to throw a dollar amount, $50K, $100K.
Yeah.
It depends on how far you as a student run with it, but I mean, there are tools here to make you millions of dollars if you utilize all them. So I'll just say, as like part of creating this program, it's not in my nature to overpromise, underdeliver. I've never been that person before. So Jack and I, when we collaborated on this course, I told him from the beginning, I want it to be so ridiculously valuable that no one can possibly question whether this was worth the money or not. I wanted to deliver 10 times what everyone else is delivering and just make it so comprehensive, so much detail, so much time and support that it's just unquestionably a great value. So I will say that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I've seen in my business, I went through, I was this first student, and now I'm able to make 6 figures year over year and growing at a high percentage growth rate just through this blueprint. So the results are there. There's so much money to be made off it. It's stupid. For everyone watching, I just want to go ahead and say thank you, Dan, so much for your time and all the resources and everything you're giving us within wholesale. You're a huge factor. You're a huge factor into seeing everyone succeed within wholesale, and we all greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. If you guys want to work with me and Jack directly, and I mean directly, one-on-one support, just click the link in the video description and book a call with our team, and we'll get you started.